All right, so we want to get you guys ready for the Fantastic Beasts and where to find them. So we're going to review all the Harry Potter films, starting with Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. Now, Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone came out in 2001. I'm actually embarrassed to say I didn't see the first two films in theaters. It took
man, you missed out.
I know. On the first two I did for sure. It took a good hit in the head and a bunch of my friends convincing me, but my friend Will convinced me. He said 15 minutes, watch the first movie, and the rest was history, and I fell in love with these movies just as a whole as the series. But starting with the first film came out in 2001. It was directed by Chris Columbus. Chris Columbus done the first two Home Alone films, Mrs. Doubtfire, Bicentennial Man, Adventures in Babysitting, 1987, a bunch of other good family films that I really personally enjoyed. So I was very intrigued and excited to hear when he came onto the project, and I gotta say, for the first movie, I thought he really did a great job of just introducing us into this world, and just from a story perspective on the first film, I thought the first film did a great job just setting up that origin of just the whole world of Hogwarts and this whole fantastic magical world, and also the introduction of our three main characters, Harry, Ron, and Hermione, and just really get you invested in their story and all the arcs that are going to come throughout the series. But I thought this film did just a great job introducing and getting you really invested not only in the characters but the world around them as well.
Yeah, totally. I mean, from the very first moment that the movie started and that music comes on, I remember being in the theater because I did see it in theaters, and I just remember being immersed in that world. And it's such a great story. It's obviously the first book of 7, but like you said, they do a really good job of making you care about these characters, about getting to know these actors as these characters. And they did a pretty good job of keeping faithful to the book. There's a lot of even lines that are exactly like they are in the book. But I thought it was really exciting to finally see Harry Potter on the big screen.
Definitely.
I remember going as a kid and just being so happy, so excited. But yeah, I thought this movie did a really good job of just, starting off the Harry Potter franchise in a really good way.
Yeah, no, for sure. And also sticking with the story, what I thought this film did too, it did a really good job setting up a bunch of things that are going to come around to later films. Like one little thing, for instance, Grip Hook in the vaults at Gringotts. I just right when I noticed Grip Hook like that, I'm like, I know he's going to play a big important factor later on. Just other things, and Ollivander, just little things like that they set up. And they also, what they did so great is they set up a bunch of things for future films while telling a very cohesive story. The acting in this film, for me personally, is top notch, especially the three. I mean, for everyone, there's not one supporting character I can even think of where I felt like there was a sloppy performance by any actor. I thought everyone did a very good job. And also when they're given their moments to shine, even the supporting characters, they really do a good job. Draco Malfoy, Snape, Dumbledore, just offhand. But the three main characters are Harry, Ron, and Hermione. In order for us to be invested in this world and this story, we have to first of all, we have to like these characters and also believe their cohesiveness and also their chemistry. And I gotta say, not only did these three kids have phenomenal chemistry with each other, their acting, just think about this, they're young 10, 11-year-old kids at the time, and they're leading a big franchise like Harry Potter. That's a lot of pressure and weight on your shoulders. So if after the first film we didn't like these characters or like their acting, this whole film franchise could have really fallen apart right here. So I thought they did, with all that pressure on them, they did such a phenomenal job. And as I was watching them, I'm not talking about this time, but just the first time I saw the films, I really thought that they were Harry, Ron, and Hermione from the book that I'd remembered or read. So I just thought, and again, rewatching the film again for this review, again, they totally immerse and sink into their characters, and they do such a brilliant job acting, all three characters, and they just, in my opinion, while they're phenomenal in this film, they just get better and better as the series goes along, as they mature as characters and actors as well.
And as actors, because you can kind of tell that they're first-time actors, which they obviously are, but I thought Daniel Radcliffe especially did a really good job being Harry. A couple times of Ron and Hermione's characters, I noticed, they're just the way that they say their lines, I'm like, oh yeah, you're a first-time actor for sure. But overall, they did a really good job. And then all the other characters, just everyone they cast was perfect. Hagrid was amazing.
Oh, yeah.
McGonagall, great. We got to talk about Alan Rickman as Snape.
My favorite.
He doesn't really have that many lines in this movie, but every time he's on screen, he just kind of steals the show because he's so good. He's the perfect Snape in my eyes.
Yeah,
so.
no, he's... Oh, that... I mean, again, I feel just about everyone was perfectly cast, but you just nailed it. Alan Rickman, he is Snape, and just like that, he's got that mysterious side in him this first. I love throughout most of the series, unless you've obviously read the books, you're not sure whether he's good or bad, and also he does things that make you think, and then does things that make you think the other way. So I thought Alan Rickman, again, just really embodied the role of Severus Snape, and in the first film, he already, to me, again, when I watched this series for the first time after the first film, he was my favorite character for me personally. So I thought he did an amazing job as Snape.
And all these actors were so good, but it definitely helps that the characters in the book/movie are just all so good and pretty fleshed out.
Yeah, no, definitely, absolutely, and also we got to mention Richard Harris as Dumbledore.
Yeah,
and we will obviously get into Michael Gambon once we get to Prisoner of Azkaban, and we continue on throughout the series, because I did love Michael Gambon a lot as well. But Richard Harris, he's sweet, he's soft loving, he's just
this is more how I pictured Dumbledore.
Yeah, exactly.
This
yeah,
guy.
and then again, we're not going to do a little comparison with Michael Gambon. We're just going to stick with Richard Harris for now. Richard Harris to me is Dumbledore. He's amazing. Again, just that sweet, soft-loving Dumbledore, and just like you feel like when Harry's got a problem, he can go to Dumbledore and ask for help or something when Dumbledore is available, of course. But I especially the scenes between Dumbledore and Harry, those are my favorite scenes. Me personally, not only their chemistry, but just like how nice he is to Harry, because you realize what a crummy, life he's had
so
with his uncle Vernon and Aunt Petunia, and also Dudley, his cousin. So it's nice to know
he's the one who put him there. So
yeah. Well, I mean,
I know.
Yeah, but still. But I do love their relationship with each other. I think Harry and Dumbledore have such an interesting relationship, and I love watching them on screen together.
So the action in this movie is pretty good. It was 2001, so some of the scenes look a little bit dated, especially that Quidditch scene. But I thought it was still pretty cool watching it now. I love that Quidditch scene with pretty much the first time you see it on screen. And you see them all flying around, and it looks pretty CGI'd, but I think it still holds up for the most part. And then some of the other action in the movie, like whether they're on that giant chessboard at the end, or whether they're awesome in the forest, I thought it was all pretty good, especially for the time and even like in general.
Yeah, no, just to bounce off literally what you just said, I thought it definitely, again, the CGI and the visual effects in this film, they are pretty good, for sure, especially when you consider it's 2001. But I will agree with you, some of the shots where Harry is, or some of the other Quidditch players are flying on the broomsticks, you can tell it's CGI characters. Also, too, when Harry's about to be hit with the troll and he keeps moving his head up, sometimes when he's being held, you can tell a little bit it's a CGI, or not a little bit, you can tell it's a CGI shot. But in general, I thought it worked for the film. I thought the CGI balanced well with mixing in with the story as well. I got to say, me personally, my favorite was seeing the Quidditch, because again, reading the book, that's kind of how I imagined Quidditch would be at least visually for me. So I thought the visual imagery and the effects during the Quidditch matches were awesome. And like you said, also when they're on their path to getting the Sorcerer's Stone, I love seeing them on the chessboard. Then when they're in the Devil's Snare and they're about to be wrapped up and strangled to death, and then Hermione's got to come up with her smart wits. But just like I also too, I like seeing characters in moments where the stakes are high and we see their intelligence come in hand. Because I love intelligent characters more than anything else when I'm watching films.
You must love Hermione then.
I really do. For other reasons as well. Not in this film. I meant when she gets older, Isabel, you freaking perverts. But anyways, listen. I thought all three. Like I said, I thought all the CGI and visual effects, for the most part, while still some were definitely dated, I thought they were really good and still hold up for the most part up to today.
I thought the sets and the production and the natural effects were all really good, especially a lot of the costumes, like with the goblins, Grip Hook, and all of them. Hogwarts, the school itself, Diagon Alley, every set itself was just amazing.
Oh yeah, no, for sure. Seeing all those sets like come to life, it's incredible. And again, they just really captured that feel I had when I was reading the book. Like, this is how I would imagine this would look. And also too, we got to add to the music by John Williams.
Oh, so good.
I mean, anytime,
such iconic music.
Yeah, for sure. Just the second you hear the music, you know it's Harry Potter, and that's what I think when a good composer can do is you just hear a little piece of music and you know what movie it's from. And John Williams is the master at doing that. He's one of the greatest, if not the greatest composer of all time. I'd say maybe Alfred Newman, but that's a debate for another day. Anyways, John Williams, he's phenomenal in the theme he creates in this film, because he only did the first 3 films in the series before he moved on. I believe the film he left for, and the 4th one was Memoirs of a Geisha in 2005. But just sticking to this, his music is phenomenal. It's iconic. And also too, I like how he creates little themes for a lot of the characters too. And also like when they're playing Quidditch, you hear little themes of Quidditch. When they're also too, when they come to Diagon Alley for the first time we see Harry and Hagrid, a lot of the music really reminded me of Home Alone 2 when Kevin's going into the hotel. I believe it was the Plaza Hotel. I could be wrong. Correct me in the comments if I'm wrong. But just I like being reminded of stuff like that. It makes me feel nostalgic in good ways. So anytime we get to hear John Williams' music, I'm happy. And he just created such an iconic, amazing theme. Just at the beginning, the dun 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 dun, dun like it's just it's like
the
so
second
iconic.
you hear that, you know what
it's
it
Harry
is.
Potter. So final thoughts. Like I said, I thought this film did such a great job just starting that origin story, delving into Harry, Ron, and Hermione, getting us invested in these three characters and also the world around them. I thought the story was, again, a very solid story for an origin story. I thought the visual effects, while a couple were definitely for sure dated, I thought they still held up pretty well. I thought the pacing of the film was pretty well. I thought the scene transitions worked well for me. I really enjoyed the villain of the film as well. I'm going to give Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone a 9 out of 10.
Yeah, I really like this movie too, especially with seeing it for the first time in theaters. I was just so happy. I remember my dad rented out the entire back row of the theater so me and my friends could go see it. So
thanks for inviting me.
A lot of nostalgia. Really good characters, really good story, good acting. Not too much wrong with it. I mean, to me, it felt like, I'm going to say this with every Harry Potter review we do, it felt like some of the scenes they had to rush through a lot just because there's so much to cover in the little time of a movie. But overall, I thought they did a really good job with this one. I'm going to give this movie an 8 out of 10. Alright guys, well that's going to do it for this video. Let us know what you thought about this movie in the comments section. And if you like these videos, you can hit the subscribe button.
See you guys next time.